I appreciate you, Tyler.
Yep. Remember, if you're in the room, to speak, enunciate your words, and to be try to be as clear as you can, because it is quite echoey in that room.
And the owl's not in working order, right?
The owl is projecting to see you guys. It's just not going to pick that up well.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. It is, yep.
Is it
Okay,
working?
here you go. You ready?
I am.
Okay. 5, 4, 3.
Recording in progress.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. We apologize for not being in person like we had planned, but today we are here for the Cheboygan Dam flooding. So if you could please join us and ask your questions, post them in the chat. We will answer them as we can. We're going to start this meeting with a brief update from our IMT staff and from other subject matter experts that are here in the room with us. And we will answer your questions following their brief update as we can. And we'll start with our sheriff.
Hi, thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me. So I just want to start by thanking everybody that's here and taking part in it, as well as all the people that have joined us online. And like you said, sorry we couldn't do this. We're going to give a quick update, answer any questions you may have. I just want to say a couple things as sheriff. So first off, everybody needs to know that this is a very coordinated effort between the DNR, IMT, the Michigan State Police, and our local emergency managers. We're all doing everything we can to protect life, number one, and any property and assets, number two. Cam Cabot and John DeMoose have both stopped by to offer support. Congressman Bergman sent some staff members. He was stuck in Washington, but he plans to be here later this week, so they are also involved. On the local side, our local emergency manager, Lieutenant Jeremy Runstrom, has been working basically night and day, as everyone has, but he's in constant contact and coordination. I think that's what people need to know, is that he works for the Sheriff's Department, Sheriff's Office. He's the Director of Emergency Management. He has been in constant contact with Lieutenant DeCastro. Captain Sweeney from the State Police has been great. Lieutenant Ashley Miller has been here with us helping as a PIO. That's been a huge help. On the DNR side, again, we're working hand in hand with all the DNR folks. We have Tim Roshecki assigned in our office. That's been awesome. We have PIO Lori Abel, that's helped us tremendously with stuff. We have liaison officer Tom Barnes, who has been great to work with. And then we've got operation manager Nate Stearns, who's been keeping us up to date on everything that's going on. So that's all been great. All of them are working hand in hand with everybody else you're going to hear from here tonight. All the engineers that are doing the best they can to mitigate, minimize any damage, any property damage. So just to wrap things up for me, I want to thank everybody again for their understanding and patience with everybody. I know it's hard. I know it's a lot. I know it's stressful. I know it causes anxiety. Believe me, it does for us too. But it's an unprecedented event, right? None of us have ever been through this before. None of us can say this is exactly what's going to happen when it's going to happen. So everybody's doing the best they can with the information they have. So with that, I'll be here at the end also if somebody has questions for me, and I thank you for the time.
Thank you. Rich Hill.
Yes, Rich Hill, Parks and Recreation District Supervisor, and also Unified Incident Commander as part of the IMT team. And just want to echo a lot of the comments that the sheriff had. Thanks for everyone and all the help. It's been amazing, from the contracting teams to the engineers to all the public service and emergency responders that have been involved in this. Really an unprecedented incident that we've got coming on the heels of a long winter. And then we start to see some warming and melting of snow, which really started filling the streams and raising lake levels, and then followed immediately by an unprecedented blizzard, which put a lot of snowpack and ice on the water, and really unprecedented. Statewide, there's flooding all over. I just want everyone to know that we're doing absolutely everything that we can to do what we can safely to try to protect the public health, safety, welfare of everybody in this community. So I won't go into the weeds on some of the operational updates. But again, thanks for all the help for everyone. Want everyone to know we're doing everything we can, and we're in for the long run.
Thank you. Mike, Denise?
Good evening, Mike Janice. I'm the incident commander of the team in Unified Command with Rich here. My job is to coordinate the team in making sure that the team functions so that we can solve the problems that come in front of us. We are a direct link with the state SEOC, and they're the ones that are able to get us the resources that you see around us, see in the community. They give us the authority to do that, and it's that partnership with the community, the SEOC, state police, the Coast Guard, all of our partners, USGS, that has helped us throughout this unprecedented flood. It's just not this community. It's all over the northern Michigan, as you can see in the media. So I'm here to answer any questions at the end if there is, and I'll turn it over.
Michelle, can you introduce yourself?
Michelle Crook, I'm the senior engineer for Michigan DNR.
Nate Stearns?
I'm going to turn it over to Kevin real quick to give a little bit of an update before the IMT came here. I think it's important to know what happened before the team got here to set us up for success.
Sure.
Hi, my name is Kevin Taylor, and I'm a local unit manager with the Department of Natural Resources, Parks and Recreation Division out of the Cheboygan field office here. Leading up to the incident, we always closely monitored the dam and water levels in the Cheboygan River and specifically in Malt Lake. The mid-March blizzard certainly caught our attention. We went to great lengths to get here to kind of see what was going on with concern with so much precipitation on the heels of that snow melt that we had able to run off. We began close monitoring the structure twice daily, so it was monitored and logged. We kept an eye to see if we had any rising levels. At that time, we also began engaging with our partners in FERC and EGLE for some clarification on plans going forward, including the emergency action plan. We began engaging with our local emergency manager, Lieutenant Lundstrom. We also began engaging and asking questions of both our own DNR engineers and our engineering consultants. Once we realized that water levels were coming up, the lake was continuing to rise well above not only our normal winter drawdown levels, but they came up to our summer target water levels. So, and we're now well above that. We began initial response efforts, 24-hour monitoring. We began to gather resources, sandbags, equipment, staff. And at that time, we really started to explore and begin moving forward with all options that we could do to pass water through the structure.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Yeah, Nate Stearns, I'm the operations section chief here with the incident management team. Since the get-go here, we've been gathering our situational awareness of what exactly is coming at us and what we can do to prepare for this. Right off the bat, we met with some local engineers and contractors and began to source large volume pumps to assist the flow around the spillway structure on the head pond. We have had aerial reconnaissance flights with our fixed wing aircraft as well as our DNR drone team to give us that aerial view of situation and what is coming behind what's already here. We've also been in contact with local engineers, and from that we gathered that we could take off the bay doors on the spillway to get more flow rate. A crane was sourced, it arrived. There was a lot of back work into that, but we got it here. The gates came off very, very early after working through the night on Sunday morning, and flows began to increase through the spillway. we have brought in an aqua dam and laid that on the built the island, as we're referring it to, from the spillway to the lock, and that is bolstered and reinforced with sandbag efforts that Parks and Recreation and other DNR staff have been tremendous assistance with. There is, with that, we've increased the retaining amount in the head pond by up to 2 feet to give us time to flow that through the spillway without having water come over the island. We've also sourced 11 large pumps that have been arriving starting yesterday through the day today and into tomorrow, and those will be put into operation 24 hours a day until we get to a level that we can feel we can manage with just the spillway. And those operations, like I say, are going to be 24 hours a day with contractors and DNR oversight at the boat launch off of Lincoln Street. We do anticipate additional incoming resources with fuel trucks and fuel cells to run those pumps over the coming days. So we are really going to be ramping up the operation as far as contractors go here in the next few days. That's it in a very small nutshell. There was a lot of other things that went on to make this stuff happen, but I'm not going to get into the weeds and bog the meeting down. I'll be available for questions after.
Thank you. Lieutenant Lindstrom?
Good afternoon, everybody. I appreciate everybody participating and wanting to listen and concerned on this matter. As everybody had already stated, obviously, you know, it's a multi-agency response on this. We've been monitoring. We're working closely with the DNR on the water levels, and so obviously, I'm here for the local emergency manager to help support the citizens here in Cheboygan. We've been closely monitoring the Cheboygan County or Cheboygan DNR dam and working with them and supporting them. As many of you are probably aware that the focus on the local side has shifted over to the Little Black River watershed, which consists of several earthen dams and embankments. We've identified high water levels out there. We have been monitoring it, and as of this morning, there is an area of concern of it breaching. So as a caution on the public side of safety, an evacuation has been established and sent out for notifications for people to evacuate for public safety. We have been in coordination with the news media, and as far as social media posts go, for all of our shelter locations to American Red Cross has been here for days, ready to support Cheboygan County, and those shelters are open. So for more information, you can call 211. They have all the shelter locations as well.
Thank you. And I'm Lori Abel. I am one of the public information officers for the incident management team assisting with this incident. We also have other members in the room to answer questions for you. We have a representative from the Weather Service, from MSP, from the Coast Guard, and other subject matter experts that can answer your questions. So we'll move on to the question portion if everyone is ready for that. First question is, do we have an up-to-date information regarding the structural integrity of the Cheboygan Dam?
We have done some reinforcing, so it is not overtopping currently. And that should help continue to maintain it so that we don't, so even when we do breach that, we'll be able to keep that water back and avoid causing any erosion.
Thank you. The next question, do we have economic assessment of potential damages from the dam collapse?
No, we don't have any specific assessments if it were to collapse. right now, all efforts are being put into trying to prevent that from happening, trying to prevent a topping. So that's really where the efforts are right now.
Thank you. Can we have a status of the tissue plant, hydros, and capacity of Big Red pump at the dam site?
I can touch that one. So going back to like when we first got that big snowstorm with that much snowpack, that knowing we're gonna have to melt it, we engaged with FERC and Eagle Dam Safety and started having some communications through FERC to try to get something, water moving through that powerhouse that had been largely unused since the fire in 2023. That was one of our first big actions, is to start moving some water through there, which after some work, they were to gradually start to get some things online. So currently what we're trying to do is trying to pass water, as much water through the powerhouse as we can, because that will help us move more water and hopefully be able to manage some of the flows that are coming our way. What you see over on Lincoln Street Bridge is a variety of pumps that Nate had mentioned previously, that we're exploring all options to move as much water as we can over the dam.
Thank you.
Can I add to that, Lori, about the Big Red pump they mentioned? We've got 2 of those over there right now. They are 24-inch diameter pumps, and each one pumps 10,000 gallons of water per minute once they're operational, later tonight or first thing tomorrow.
Thank you. The next question, if the dam were to break, the priority is for people's safety. Beyond that, what would be the impact on the rivers and the lakes of the inland waterway?
We don't have anyone from Eagle here, but from some of the conversations that we've had, it's such a huge watershed that if that were to happen, it would start to drain. Obviously, you would see higher levels in the Cheboygan River going up to Lake Huron, but it would take some time for those levels to significantly come down and for the river to start to come down. Because if you think about the amount of water behind it, it's going to take a while for it to drain. So then obviously we would work to try to see what we can do to stop that when that were to happen. But again, all our efforts are going into trying to prevent it to the extent that we can.
Can you touch on the situation at the Alverno Dam?
Kind of runs from there.
The Alverno Dam is being monitored. It's working as it should and passing water. Obviously, the melt off and the high water levels along the Black River and the Black Lake are so high. It's just going to take some time for that to pass water through.
Thank you. The next question is, what is an aqua dam?
So an aqua dam is a big tube that we filled with water that is approximately 6 feet in diameter and 30 inches tall when it's fully inflated with that water, filled with that water. And what that does is we laid visqueen down below it, and we sandbagged in front of it and reinforced it behind it with some cribbing. And that is so that when if the water rises up over the edge of the walkway on the island, that it will stop there and continue to rise to build that head pond capacity.
Thank you. A question, you may have answered this partially, but this specific question is the maximum flow going through the hydro?
Michelle, you can fill in some of the blanks on this too, but just as a general overview for everyone, when you look at the Cheboygan Dam complex, it's made up of 3 components. There's the spillway, which everyone sees, there's the lock, and then there's the powerhouse. Within the powerhouse, there are 2 bypass valves on the sides, and there's 1 electric turbine in the middle. The powerhouse complex has the ability, just using rough numbers, to account for about 30% of the total capacity of the Cheboygan Dam complex. So we're actively working to try to get the turbine to pass water, and that will gain us, if it can work, that will gain us a significant amount of flow, especially right at the head pond. I don't know if you want to touch on the exacts or not.
As far as flow for that, in order to operate at maximum capacity, it has to be connected back to the grid to have resistance on that motor. Otherwise, it will spin too fast, similar to when you see a wind turbine. They're either not spinning or they're spinning at a very slow speed. You don't want that to just spin real fast and go out of control. And so they've been working and testing all the equipment since it hadn't been used for several years to make sure it's safe to operate and be able to get that up to full capacity.
Thank you. Another question, will they shut the power off?
They'll shut, I can answer that one. They'll shut the power off when all of the tests that come back the Army Corps of Engineers and the local contractors and the owner of the powerhouse, they have to meet a significant amount of tests, a go, no go. And once they pass all of those tests so that they're not hurting anything, safety wise and damaging the power infrastructure of the community and the substations, then Consumers Power does their checks. And once all of those are a go, then they have to shut the power down for approximately 2 hour time frame so that they can do tests for the power that's generated from the powerhouse to the grid, making sure that those frequencies are correct and stable. And that takes a lot of time and a lot of testing. Once that's done and passed, then they are able to flip the switch and it goes to the substation. And Consumers has put in a secondary substation in case of the dam failure that is out of the way of an issue if the dam fails. So Consumers has been a huge partner in this. Once that's done, then the power gets flicked on. There is a tremendous amount of safety in go, no go checks that have to be done in order for the that powerhouse to work. And that's what's taking time right now, is getting that back out of the mothball stage, getting parts supplied to make that happen. So you won't see, if you see the power go out and you have a messaging, that's a good sign in my book that we're close to the end and getting that powerhouse started. So that's what I have for that.
Good one.
Okay.
Thank you. The next question is there any concern for those residents outside of the lines on the map that was released if the dam were to fail?
Are you talking about this dam or
Dam.
this dam?
Yes.
So there's obviously some impacted areas have been identified. We obviously expanded that radius just a little bit to err on side of caution. But obviously anybody along the river waterways should obviously be monitoring the current situation.
Thank you. Next question is, what is the elevation of the top of the dam? Does anybody know that? If not, we can get a subject matter expert to answer that question at a later time.
But I'll say, we know it because we're measuring it like every half hour and it's written right on the spot where we're measuring. So we have all that data, and that is an important point that I just want to share. Eagle Dam Safety came out and measured all along the dam structure. So we know the elevations. That was some of the preparation work that we were doing with all this high snowpack that needed to melt to help us prepare. So we do know all the elevations. We can maybe follow up, put that in the chat. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's 596.31.
Thank you.
Thank you. What is the current level of the water?
I can take that. Current level of Mullet Lake is at 595.44 feet above sea level.
Okay, thank you. Next question, if the Tower, Cleaver, or Alverno dams burst, will the dam be able to hold?
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Sorry, if Tower, Cleaver, or Alverno dams were to burst, would this dam be able to hold?
I think I could answer that. We're, right now, with the amount of water that is predicted that is coming down to this dam, will meet capacity of what we've done. So we're trying to channel that water into a spot where it does the least amount of damage to save the whole structure. We're hoping that the modeling that has been done for us and Mother Nature's help, of course, will help us out. But we're at max capacity with the water that we know that is flowing and the ice melt that's coming without those dams breaking.
Thank you. Next question. Why did the DNR wait so long to start to lower the water level? The gauges show it has been rising significantly for months.
I can take that, and Kevin, you can fill in blanks. We were pulling the maximum capacity that we had the ability to pull going back to October when we started doing our winter drawdown. So we've had everything open. We've been doing everything we could. And then when we had a sequence of events where we had a significant melting event followed by a blizzard, that really put us in a bad situation. But I just want everyone to know that our water level regime that we follow, we start drawing down in October, and we did. So we've been in full drawdown mode this entire time.
Okay. It's going to take me a second to just read through some of these. It bounces up and down on me. Sorry about this, people. We have to get to the questions. So.
I think that's a great point that you just made, what she's doing that is because, I mean, that's a lot of the questions that we're getting at the local level at my office is, well, why didn't they start sooner? Why weren't they doing it sooner? So, I mean, I think that's great for you to get that out there, that you have been moving as much water as you can since October. So.
Maybe another question that we could answer, Michelle can answer. I'll ask the question to Michelle, is why aren't we pushing water and opening up those locks in that, the lock? So this is the answer why we're not doing that. Take it away.
Okay, we have studied that extensively, working with the consulting engineers who did the design on the locks recently, as well as other engineers who have came to the site and helped us out, and contractors who have looked at it. We've looked at a variety of options for doing that, and there's several factors. One, the doors are not meant to open against the kind of head pressure they're currently facing. So getting those open, we would likely lose the doors. The structure itself is not intended to handle those levels of flows at the turbulence it would be receiving. The existing floor would likely be destroyed. And if you lose the floor, we would lose the walls, which could also then affect the structural integrity of the powerhouse. Something we really don't want to do. And one other real critical factor is, in order for the turbine in the powerhouse to work, you have to have head differential between what's coming in and what's going out. So if we lost all that water in an uncontrolled release quickly, you would then take away the ability of those turbines to work, and we will have possibility of getting more water through the turbine than we would through the locks.
I just want to add one thing too, is we started, and we are today, passing some water through the lock, but we can do it safely. It's not the best for the lock long term, but in these conditions, we do it. And we do it through the fill tubes, and it flows out the back. So we've been doing that for quite some time. And even though a lot of folks maybe driving by are like, well, geez, why is the lock closed? Why aren't they using the lock to pass water? We have been. You just couldn't see it because in an ideal condition, We partially fill the lock, fill tubes are open, it's dumping out the back, but we have water in there to prevent that scouring on the floor. So we've been doing this as soon as we got the ice out of the lock for some time, but if you were looking at it, you didn't know. Most recently, we had to, we opened the back doors, and so now you can see it where it's flowing. Same amount of water, we've been doing the same thing for going back to the blizzard, basically.
Thank you. If the dam were to break, what would be the expected speed and height of the flow of water? And do we have an estimate as to how far the water would reach?
So if this dam were to breach, it would not be some of the big failures you may have seen on TV or what we saw in Edenville. You would not get that big wave crest coming forward. The highest level we expect it to reach outside of the banks is up to 2 feet in a very limited area. And then the water would flow out into Lake Huron. With the way this river is and the reinforcing all the way down it, that really minimizes a lot of the flooding that would occur in a typical river system.
Thank you.
In the way that is predicted, I guess I'll add to that, Michelle, is when the water goes over the dam, it's gonna start eroding, and the erosion is gonna start and work its way back into the dam. And then that's gonna be a gradual amount of time to do that. And then if it does it long enough, then we'll have the structural damage and then go down. So that's why it's not that big wall that's you see on TV of 20 some feet rushing at you.
Thank you. How many more pumps are on the way, and are they the same large 10,000 GPM pumps?
That's a great question. I have 9 more pumps on the way. On the way to the meeting tonight, I saw that there was 2 more already arriving. There are no more 24-inch pumps available anywhere in the Midwest right now. So I got the last 2 we had. What's coming are 18 inchers, 16 inchers, 14 inchers, and I think 2 10-inch pumps, all of various gallons per minute. I do not know exact at this point, but if somebody would like that in the chat, we could drop it in after I get the calculations.
Thank you. The next question, under the proposed plan, what is the maximum water level increase or decrease in feet in the downtown Cheboygan during a 100-year flood?
I think that would probably go back to what Michelle talked about with, like, if there were a failure with the inundation maps, which drives the emergency plans or the emergency maps that you've probably seen online, which is basically as you get further away from the dam, the waves get smaller.
Okay.
What we're really fortunate with this setup is that on the downstream side of the dam, most of that river is armored. So it's flowing through an armor already. And then there's some areas that are identified that are low areas that that are at risk, but it's confined to that armored structure going out. There'll be some lateral, but not huge.
And high banks close to the dam too.
Thank you. What is the next step of the evacuation?
So I think as far as the Cheboygan DNR dam side of things, the green portion right now is where we have really mentioned the ready, set, go phase of this. We're still in the ready phase. There's different measurements that will set us to the set stage, and there's different measurements to set us to the go stage. So obviously, once we meet those those thresholds, then alerts will be sent out to notify the individuals identified in the green section there. I think it's also important to say that obviously there's been some road closures around there that is not associated anything remotely close with a failure there. That is only identified as because there's so much traffic coming and going we wanted to expand the staging area, for trucks to park and equipment to be staged.
Thank you.
And I think also I can add to that, it's important to note because initially there was a lot of confusion around this exact topic. I think it's important to note that the evacuation zone, if it does get to that stage, is only the area that's identified on the map. And the majority of that is commercial or industrial properties. There's very few residences in that area. And the residences that are there have been contacted, correct? Yes, all right, they're shaking their head yes for me. The residences that are there have been contacted and are individually kept apprised of what's going on. We know how to contact them, they have contact information for all of them, so if you have not been contacted, then at this point, you don't need to worry.
Thank you. The next question, what would the impact of the sewage water treatment plant be if this was to flood? Would water and sewer be affected for the community in the areas not flooded? Does anyone in the room have an answer to that?
Lieutenant Runsman could probably add to it, but we're told no.
This, the impact from this structure here, no, there is no impact to the base part. If power to be cut, they do have generator power in still.
Thank you. I apologize. It bounces around for me to read the questions from one second to the next with the next new question. With the current known data and models with the expected forecasted weather, is a dam topping expected?
We expect that we might see some topping, but with the aqua barrier dam and all the sandbagging that was done, we don't expect it will exceed that.
The thing I just wanted to add to that too is when it comes to the sandbagging, we do have a plan. It's a lot more than just putting out a lot of sandbags. We had some engineering consultants help us with it. And, very strategically, these things are placed and how we're going to try to run the water into a strategic location to pass without topping. So we put a lot of thought into the sandbagging that we have done.
Thanks. If the dam does fail, what will the effect on the upriver lakes be? How long will it take for the levels to drop significantly, and how many feet will they drop?
That's something that we are currently working on. We have engaged consultants to provide us some of that data, and we hope to be able to share that pretty soon. You will see a drop. One of the things that is noted is you will see increased currents up in the upper area as the flow will increase. So if that were to happen, folks even upstream would need to be cognizant to be careful around the banks and know that currents are going to increase. Could see some shoreline erosion in those areas with high moving volumes of water that will be going towards the dam.
Follow-up question to that is if the Cheboygan Dam does go, will it take pressure off the Alverno Dam?
No, not necessarily. So Alverno Dam flows into the Black, which flows in. So the Alverno Dam, we don't hold back the Alverno Dam. The Alverno Dam flows into the Cheboygan. Maybe that's the best way I can put it. Best way.
Okay. Next question, if the powerhouse was capable of increasing flow 30%, why wasn't it deemed important enough to keep it operational after the fire in case of situations like this?
It's privately owned. Would we love the ability to be able to pass water through the powerhouse? It's our Michigan Department of Natural Resources, Parks and Recreation Division. We do manage the water levels, and we would love to have all tools to manage that at our disposal. But that is something that is out of our control.
Okay. Looks like online we have several questions that I'll allow or ask Lieutenant Runstrom to address regarding the current situation with the evacuation going on. Can you just give an update for this group?
Yeah, the current evacuation is, so the outline is coming down, from Lake Huron, split the Cheboygan River, and run up Court Street to Inverness Trail, all the way up to Lake Huron. So that's the portion that would be impacted by the little Black River watershed if there was a failure there. So people have been advised to evacuate that area for their safety. And obviously the shelter are listed, and to call 211 if you are looking for the shelter locations. Once we are able to assess the situation and deem it safe and or the water levels have gone down and passed, we will apply another message out there to relay to the public that it's safe to return to your houses.
Thank you. There's still one more question here about a further explanation on the hydro.
Sorry, Lori.
The question is, I don't think it was answered clearly enough. Do you think it is likely the hydro dam turbine will be restarted and run again? And if so, is there a timeline when that will be running again?
Michelle can fill in some of the blanks on this, but we're actively working. We have multiple contractors down there as we speak. The Army Corps of Engineers is down there helping us. We are hopeful. Obviously, Consumers has done an amazing amount of work just to make it feasible. So we're going through what is a testing phase, as Mike indicated earlier, and we are hopeful that it will. And we're going to keep trying. I don't know if you have anything to add, Michelle.
I think that pretty much covers it. We've got a lot of people down there, and they're all pulling to get it going.
Thank you. The last question is, how likely is a full dam failure at this point?
Well, that's exactly what we're trying to prevent. A lot of it's going to depend on what the flows actually are. When you look at some of the weather reports that we've seen, some of the river flow models have fluctuated. We've seen them as high as over 10,000 and lower than 6 and 8,000. So what we're trying to do is to build our capacity. So as those come down, we're able to manage it and safely pass it. And we would really hope that the weather would once cooperate for us, so we can manage these levels. So we're going to do our best. And again, with the sandbagging that we've done and some of the other items that we've deployed, with some professional assistance to get them in place, likely we are hopeful that we would be able to do it, but we do not have a guarantee. But I want people to know that we monitor this thing 24 hours a day. We have our systems in place, as Lieutenant Runstrom has mentioned. So if you are in one of those zones, make sure that you're being cognizant of that. And if you're in one of the zones where you need to be notified, make sure that you're signed up. And rest assured, we're doing everything we can to prevent that from happening. And we're here 24/7. And as an IMT team, we're here to help.
Lori, if I may, before you stop, so Rich just mentioned all the contractors and everything that are down there, and I started by thanking all the different organizations, DNR, IMT, MSP, EOC, all of that. What I didn't mention, and I should have, but I think it's very important to mention, is all the help we got from the local contractors. That they dropped what they were doing to come fulfill the requests that have come in from any of our EOCs. So the amount of cooperation we've got from Consumers, the local contractors, sandbags to roofing to electricity to everything has been phenomenal. I think that just it just shows the spirit of Cheboygan and the cooperation of our community. So
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. We do have a few more questions that have popped in. If the hydro wasn't fixed and put in service before, since it's private, how are you doing it now?
We're working very collaboratively with a lot of people, trying everything we can to put it back online.
Thank you. If there was to be a failure, is there an evacuation plan in place for the east side?
Yes, there's a plan in place for the east side of the river, and again, we're working off the model there that's on the screen, and obviously, I said before, we're still in the ready phase, but them areas have been identified.
Thank you. Another question we've gotten in is how closely does the Lincoln Avenue USGS gauge correlate to the water levels at the dam?
That's very close to the areas where we're monitoring. It's a little bit slightly different, but when we talk about the place where we're getting our measurements for the ready set go, it's within 18 feet of that location where we're measuring. And the location where we're measuring is the lowest point.
Thank you. Can we restate for the group the level at the dam now? The water level at the top of the dam? Do you have that now?
7 inches. 7 inches below the top of the dam.
Thank you.
Maybe
What
at
has
some
to-
point, we could have the weather service a prediction of the next few days after we're done with some questions too, since they're in the panel.
Yep. What has to happen to start using US 23 drawbridge again? Is there anyone here that can answer that?
I think we have an end person with us.
Okay, we'll get that answer and post it if we can. And what part of the dam is considered the top?
The top that we're using would be the lowest point. And when we're talking about the dam, we're talking about the structure. So the lowest point in this case is down by the locks. So when we talk about the top location, that's where it would ultimately go over. That would be the lowest. Now let's get anything that.
Okay. What is, sorry, it jumps. Where'd it go?
Lori, while you're looking for that, I wonder if we can talk about the weather just for a second.
Absolutely.
Hi, Patrick Bog from the National Weather Service Bureau. As far as, excuse me, as everybody knows, we've been in an active pattern the last week or so, actually last few weeks. But in the coming days, looks like we have another chance of rain tonight. Nothing real heavy, like quarter inch or less generally, and then about the same amount the next night. Friday looks dry, and then we have another rain system that's a little more widespread for Saturday, but at this point, it's not looking like what we've been seeing over the last few days. And then the better part of next week is looking more quiet than we've seen in the last couple of weeks. So we'll hope that holds.
Thank you. What is the rate of rise of the next 12 to 24 hours? Does anyone have it? Okay. Can you explain why you don't know?
It's a very, very large system that comes in. It's going to depend on how much rainfall we get, how much some of the other dams are releasing. There's a variety of factors that go into that, how much snow melt, and the ice that's still on, and the rate that's melting. So there's a lot of factors that go into that.
Thank you. Is it safe for people to go to work in businesses next to the river?
I would say at this point, if you've received the notification of evacuation in the city of Cheboygan, then no. Based on what is happening on the Little Blackbird watershed, until that's assessed and deemed safe and or the water levels have gone down.
Do we have an estimate on the current rates for flow through the spillway, locks, pumps, or the powerhouse? Do we have that rate of flow?
We do. It's something we know what our capacities are. and it varies. One of the things that this is a good opportunity, to mention is, I think most people are aware, and you saw that we pulled the gates out of the spillway. And that actually gained us more capacity. We were closely monitoring those gates, and on the day that we pulled them out, they were starting to hit the bottoms. And then we got to the point to where we were at full capacity, meaning that the spillway couldn't pass any more water than when it was currently. So we were able to plan for it and quickly mobilize a contracting crew to pull those gates, which actually gave us more capacity to move water. So that'd be beneficial to us. Yeah, I don't have the numbers offhand, but we do know what our capabilities are. And the big thing with the turbine, if we can get that to spin, that would give us a pretty good percentage of the overall capacity of what the dam could pass. Probably somewhere in the total capacity of 15 to 20% of what the dam's capable of could go through the turbine if it was fully operational.
Thank you. Is there a location where people can get more updates on the more frequent updates on the distance and the crest, or the level of the water?
Does the weather service have some of that? We've been getting weather reports. I don't know if it's NOAA or from you guys, but has some of the river data on it.
There are river forecasts. This is not a forecasted river point, so there's actually river forecasts. There are, the gauges are available on the USGS webpage as far as what the local river stages are. As far as what was the other question?
Just, is there a location or a site where they can go to get rate? I'm sorry. More current accurate measurements of the distance.
Well, I know there's that state police have that daring page that has updates of warehouse.
Yeah, so emergency management, Homeland Security, GIS division down in Lansing has created a website which we can post in the chat, which has all the updates, all the press releases, have all the shelter locations, and any updated information on there. So we'll post that in the website in the chat there, so that everybody can visit that and read the current status.
Okay, I'm just going to make a clarification for this particular question and answer session. This is specific to the Cheboygan Lock and Dam. I am avoiding some of the questions that are specific to the Little Black River, and I will be sharing these with Lieutenant Runstrom and their Emergency Operations Center that can go ahead and answer some of these questions either through their own post or through another venue. We do not have the subject matter experts in the room to answer those questions and have not been involved in that response. This is specifically the response to the Cheboygan Lock and Dam and the Cheboygan River in this particular area. So I apologize for some of the questions being avoided or not asked. It's not that we don't want you to get the answers, it's that this particular panel doesn't have the answers for you in this venue. Are the bypass valves on the hydro open?
Yes.
Okay.
I did just drop the link in the chat for the Cheboygan Lock and Dam Complex page, so people can take a look at that to stay updated.
Is it true the mill will collapse due to the foundation being full of water? Does anyone have?
We don't. One thing I will add is with this work that we're doing, we're working closely with FERC just to make sure that we wouldn't, and FERC wouldn't do anything that would put anything at jeopardy. So we're working closely with FERC and making sure that things are done correctly.
What was the maximum flow rate the dam was designed for?
You can help me out here. It's,
Around 4,800?
yeah, well, the overall 4,800 at the spillway, we increased that by pulling it when we see the dam. Then also you have to factor in the actual powerhouse. So 4,800 is CFS, and then the powerhouse would be roughly 2,800 CFS would be the maximum. And you could exceed that if the dam were to top, but that's what it's designed to.
Is there any concern about the fuel containers going out the dam to Lake Huron?
They're talking about US oil maybe, when they say fuel containers? If so, then no would be the answer. I'm not sure what else they're talking about.
If the hydro were to start on time, would that prevent an overtopping?
It sure would help, but there's no guarantee with the amount of water that is upstream. But that is our goal, is to get that operational fully, so it can get the capacity through that powerhouse to aid the DNR side of the spillway, and what we're doing to get the more water over the spillway, as Nate and Kevin had talked about.
Thank you.
Maybe Rich and Michelle can quickly hit on, because we've got a lot of questions on it. I know I have, that when you say overtopping, that doesn't necessarily mean the entire length of the spillway, and it doesn't necessarily indicate failure. It's overtopping, but when it goes down, everything goes back to normal. Overtopping doesn't automatically equate failure.
Correct.
Excellent. I want to thank the panel for being here. We've come to our time end. I want to remind everyone that this video will be available on the DNR YouTube channel, and you can go and watch it there. If you have any further questions, you can reach out to us on Facebook or through our webpage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.